Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Dat Lee. In today's video, I'm going to be doing an interview with a good friend of mine, Denise Mai. And we're just going to have a conversation about her experiences and her journey through getting started in real estate in the last 10 years and really getting to a position where she's one of the top real estate agents in Vancouver. And she's also moved to a new platform known as Exp Realty. And just we're having a conversation just about some of the things that really helped her out in terms of when she got started. What are some of the breakthroughs she had, and some of those moments where it's like she took the leap of faith and it really paid off for her. So you'll get a really good conversation about just her journey and how she grew and just got to where she is today, being the top 1% of realtors in all of Vancouver. So it's pretty cool conversations. I've known her for close to 5 years now, and it's just such a great chance to get to talk to her and just get to know her, and for you guys to just listen and you perhaps may get inspired, motivated, even to potentially get into real estate. So enjoy, and I'll see you guys after this. So hi Denise, how are you?
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Dad.
No worries. Like, I really appreciate you just coming here and obviously taking time out of your day, because I know you're working and just hustling and bustling on a Sunday. So I appreciate that.
No, for sure. I always have time for you. You know that, Dad. We go
It's
way back.
crazy. Like, I think, how long have we known each other now? Like, I would say 5-ish more years now.
Yeah, give or take, maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I've got to really see you grow and kind of like almost like just rocket ship to this incredible real estate agent that's like I have a note here that you're top 1% in Vancouver and you're doing all these amazing things, and I'm just super impressed, to be honest. And just really cool to see a friend of mine that I've seen her from like the beginning almost, and just like be able to grow and just see so much success. So it's really cool.
Oh, thank you, Dad. And same with you. I've seen both of us evolve, right? And I think that's the beautiful thing about friendship, is that we get to see each other grow in different ways. And I just, I'm sure we're going to continue to see each other grow more.
It's great. Like, so I wanted to ask you, did you always know that you wanted to be in real estate, or how did you kind of come into it? Because I know a lot of people, they aren't really sure what they want to do like after high school or like during college even, and some even graduate with like a degree that they don't even use. So what was it like
Yeah.
for you kind of getting into the industry?
That's a great question. So I graduated at SFU with a communications degree. And the reason I actually got a university degree mainly was for my parents. The Asian parents, they always want you to get a university degree. And so for
So
me,
true.
and for me going to university, I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go in, to be honest. Like, I just knew that I picked communication through the power of elimination. I knew I didn't want to get into the sciences. I wanted to do business, but I remember there was like a prerequisite for Math 12, which I didn't do. So I was like, I don't like math, so communication it is. But to go back to your question, I remember this is actually the story how I got into real estate. At the time, I remember I was wanting to go into the corporate world. So after I got my degree, I was like, I'm going to go work for a Fortune 500 company, climb up the corporate ladder, become a CEO. Like, that was kind of like my goal. And then I got really lucky. I worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies. I worked at Accenture and Johnson and Johnson.
Amazing.
So I thought, yeah, it was really good, like head start to the direction I wanted to go in. But I realized, I'm like, that direction wasn't for me. Like the 9 to 5, I didn't want anyone controlling my income. Like, I didn't want anyone to be like, Denise, you did a great job this year. You get 5% raise.
Was there like any moment like that you can remember where you just kind of like, it was kind of like, this is it, this is like no more? Was there like
Yeah.
that moment? What was that moment for you?
There was. So I remember I had lunch with the CEO of LifeScan at the time, which is a division of Johnson and Johnson. And he was like, we had a great conversation. He's like, Denise, why don't you try real estate? And at the time I was like 24, and I'm like, who's going to trust a 24-year-old with their $1 million home? And so what happened was, me and one of my friends, Tracy, Tracy,
Mhm.
throwing her in the bus right now, but we entered a contest and we were to sell newspaper ads, like, on those little newsletters. It was like this
Yeah.
little coffee newspaper, and you can sell it like those little advertising on the
Yeah, I
side.
do remember like coffee time or like I think
Yes,
that was a
yes, yes, that was the one. And so the owner was like, whoever sold the most newspaper advertisements would win a trip anywhere in the world. So me and her entered, and we decided to somehow we started targeting realtors. We just like talked to a whole bunch of realtors, and I remember one day we made an appointment, three or four appointments the next day to talk to four realtors to get them to buy newspaper advertisements. And so she calls me at 3 in the morning, like, Denise, me and my boyfriend's been arguing all night. I'm so sorry I can't make it tomorrow. And so I was like, what are you gonna, you're just gonna leave me hanging? So I called the owner. He's like, Denise, I believe in you. You can just do it. So I ended up just meeting the realtors by myself. And basically, long story short, I ended up winning that contest all by myself. So it was like a group of like out of 20 other groups I won. So, winning that contest to me was it proved to myself that I could sell. And so after winning that contest, then I got my license and pretty much never looked back. And here
it's
I am today,
crazy.
10 years later.
It's funny, right? Because I think a lot of people like kind of like in your situation where there's a moment where you have to take the leap of faith almost.
Yes,
It's kind of like it doesn't look like, that everything's going your way and according to plan, but you
yeah,
just take that leap of faith and you just go through it and you don't look
yes,
back and you don't like run away from a challenge and something
exactly.
amazing always comes out the other side.
Exactly. And I think that's a good point you brought up, Dad, because I think that was a moment of decision where that was a crucial decision. Because if I decided to, cancel all those appointments, I would have just, who knows what direction would have went in. But I think like that was a moment where I felt uncomfortable. And I think it's really important to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's a moment of growth and change that you're experiencing. That's why we feel uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
But like you said, it's just taking that leap of faith and just doing it anyways, despite your fear. So yeah, looking back on my life, there's definitely a lot of moments like that where you just have to choose to take that leap of faith and be a risk taker sometimes.
So and then like how about your first sale? Was that like a difficult one? Like were you really nervous on your first listing ever? And like did it go according to plan or was it kind of like everything like not right and everything's just kind of like a huge mess the first one?
You know what? No. The thing with me is when I first got started, I had this like a little bit of insecurity that I looked young, I was young. And so, what the philosophy and quote that I lived by at that time was fake it till you make it. And and so despite me not doing any deals before, I never told my client. I just if I had any questions, I asked my managing broker, but I just was there. I showed up and just talk to her like I knew what I was talking about. But it was my first year, and she was a buyer, and it was a pretty straightforward sale. But it is nerve wracking, trying to go over the contract. But I had a great team leader at the time. He just said, Denise, just go for it. If there's any questions, let me know. And you have to go for it sometimes. You can't just let my insecurity hold you back.
And it's so true. And it's like, regardless of whatever industry you're in or whatever opportunity you're presented, you just have to go through and do it. And
Hmm.
everything will work out. But you just have to actually take the action
Yes,
and really
100%.
actually do it. And it's funny
I
because
agree.
sometimes people will kind of say, like, in your case, maybe, oh, I'm too young. But then in other case, oh, I'm too old. Or "Oh, I'm too this, I'm too that, right? But like at the end of the day, if you just have the courage and the conviction to, trust your gut and do it, it
Yeah.
will work out 90% of the time.
Yeah. 100%. And you know what I realized, looking back, is that these are stories and our own beliefs that we create within our own heads. When in reality, it's absolutely not true, because there's so many examples where someone too old, like KFC Colonel Sanders, got his recipe at what, 72, 73.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? We hear rock star agents at 18, 19. So anything is possible as long as you just believe and just go for it 110% and take action. So yes, I agree with you. Good point, Dad. That's true.
Is there anything that like, you recommend to like anybody like that's kind of getting involved for like a business opportunity for the first time or thinking about doing something that they're either passionate about or they're going to like a career that they they have an interest in? Like, is there anything that you've done kind of outside of your work that's really helped you grow and just, expedite that learning for you?
100%. Before I would call myself, um, what do you call it? Like, I'm so into personal growth. So I've done so many different things in my life personally to help me grow. So like I've done Landmark, I've done Tony Robbins, I've done Make Your Mark, like so many different personal development courses. I've read so many books. And the thing is, we don't know what our own limiting beliefs are
Mhm.
until we actually take that step and make a conscious effort into realizing what might be holding us back from our true potential. So I think for me personally, spending thousands and thousands of dollars, because I know Tony Robbins, I spent like 30,000 on his university. Um, that in itself, but for me, what I got from it is just like 100 times what I paid. So like the best investment you can do is in yourself. And I truly believe that, like 150%. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself. That's what I always say. And I
I
know you're a
think,
you're a big personal growth guy too. I know that, right? Right. So
well, like I've learned that, you can't really waste money when you spend it like investing in yourself. But I think one of the biggest challenge that people like are confronted with when they're thinking about taking a course or thinking about doing a seminar is, like, I don't know if it's gonna be worth it, or, this is too much money.
yeah.
But I would like, you know, suggest to them that like things in your life only come true if you, put it into the universe, right? So you can't really get something for nothing in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And when you do that, you typically don't really value it.
Hmm.
Like so many times in our lives that we get like free advice from like people that like are more successful than us or like, above us in some way, but we don't really take it to heart because it's free. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When you
Yeah.
pay for something, it's like, hey, well, if this is 30,000, I'm gonna go use it, deploy it, and make sure that like I live by it, right?
Exactly. And the way I see it is that, like, I know I have friends who are like, they really hesitant about spending money on personal development or courses. But the way I see it is this is like, even if you spend the money, you take the course, if you even get like even one golden nugget out of that course that you're able to implement into your life, you're leveling up just a little bit more or potentially a lot more. And that in itself just shows that you're stepping into another a level of growth that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't taken that course or read that book or, hired that coach, whatever it may be.
And one of the cool, like the things I've just noticed too, like when you're an entrepreneur, when you're working for yourself, like every penny you like invests in you, it doesn't only go like towards your professional side, right? It also goes into your
Yeah.
personal side as well. So you get like the best of both worlds when you're really consciously investing in yourself.
Yes, I completely agree about that. Like, I think for me, a lot of the focus I've done for my personal development has been on like my business, my career. And then in the last few years is when I realized that I was not necessarily putting a lot of my energy on my personal life, whether that be my love life, my relationships. And so in the last 2 years is when I really kind of took a little bit step back from my career and said, okay, money can always be made,
Yeah.
but creating that next level of family and kids and stuff like that, that in itself is kind of where I wanted to shift a little bit my energy to.
One of the hardest concept for me to understand, like growing up, is that you can always remake money, like as long as you're leveling up, but you can't ever like get that time back. And for the longest time growing up, like I didn't understand, because when you're young you have an abundance of time, right? Like, you got so much time you don't know what to do with. But as you like grow and as you get older and older, like it really becomes limiting in terms of, there's only so many hours of the day, only so many things you can do.
Hmm.
Where like, money, it's really everywhere. And I didn't really understand that until I really like got into the corporate world and like and saw how like these, billion-dollar companies are just like operating. Like
Yes.
they're just adding value, and like some of their um the way they charge and like how they actually price things and how much profits they're making. It's like, whoa. Like, and when I got that shift in my mind, I was like, okay, now I can understand like why it's easier to make money back than get back your time, and why people are willing to spend more money to have like a little bit more luxury, to save time and to like invest that time into other things. And
Yes.
for me also, moving downtown was a huge time saver because I used to live in Richmond. I would have to come downtown every single day, and it's like 45 minutes to an hour one way. So there and back, it's already like 2 hours. Plus getting ready is like another hour. So 3 hours in a day times, five to 7 days a week, depending on how often you go to the office. And it compounds. And
Yeah.
now like that I live like downtown and everywhere is accessible by walking. It's like, man, it's a game changer.
100%. I remember you telling me that when you first moved into your place downtown. And I completely agree with that because I think, when we're younger, we trade our time for money. But as you get older, you trade money for your time, right? Because
Mhm.
that's something that is so precious that you can never get back. It's one of those commodities that is so precious. Absolutely.
And these, I want to kind of ask you about this because I know that you started working with a different like real estate company, and they're kind of very like they're very like on a tech side, like very like
Yeah.
advanced in terms of like technicalness. So can you kind of walk us through what EXP Realty is and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was with Remax for 9 years, and I love them. They were great, especially when I got started. I want a strong brand behind me. That balloon was obviously worldwide. Made a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And then about a year and a half ago, I got presented this opportunity to me to join EXP. And of course, at the time, I wasn't too sure. I've never heard of EXP before, and I wasn't too sure what it was. But when I saw the model and the brokerage and what it was doing and how it was revolutionizing the real estate industry, I was like, boom, I'm in. Like, I'm one of those like people that I do make pretty quick decisions.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's basically cloud-based brokerage, and they are basically turning the model like completely upside down. So it's giving like agents like myself opportunities to earn money passively, also through, gain equity through stock ownership,
Mm.
and also third, it's such a collaborative model, especially the technology side to it is just much so much more advanced than Remax was. But not to downplay, Remax is its own great thing. But for me, I want to be able to see how I can benefit my clients, and if I have
Right.
better technology, better marketing, better systems, it's going to be benefiting my client at the end of the day. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I just said, I'm in. Where do I sign up?
And it's crazy because there's always like things always change. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, things are always
Hmm.
evolving and you have to grow with it, right? Like you can't just
Yes.
stay stagnant or kind of be comfortable with what worked yesterday or like last year. And obviously they're like a huge disruptor in like the real estate,
Yes.
industry now. And it's really cool.
Completely. And it's
So I want to like ask like, so do you like, is it more collaborative in terms of like you working with more agents or having like a bigger team and sponsoring like other agents, or how does that all come together?
yeah, like, I felt like with my previous company, like, everyone was kind of like kept to themselves, no, everyone's kind of like, hey, this, everyone had their own little ways of doing things, and they had this mentality where it's like, I don't want to share with you because you might steal my ideas. Like, I don't know, it was just like, it was very, very like independent. And so, real estate is one of those industries that can get quite lonely. But for me, I'm an only child, so for me being independent was okay. But I know a lot of other agents have mentioned that concept. But with this brokerage model, it's like you can actually bring on agents and sponsor them. And bringing them on, you get a percentage of what they make as well, which creates that collaborative nature because then it's a win-win
Right.
situation, right? So if I'm bringing you on, for example, Dad, and you're an agent, and then for me, if you're doing more deals, it's a win-win situation for me. So for
Right.
me, it's like I want to help you. I want you to do better. I want you to succeed. So that model in itself is just so amazing to see that everyone is so helpful and wanting each other to grow. And so that's some of my values that I live with on a daily basis. So it's so nice to have that now in my career too.
And it's really important because I think like the incentives in anything that you do have to be aligned correct for all parties, right?
Yes.
Because if it's like tilted one way or the other, like some like, one side's going to lose and it's not going to make sense for a long term. But obviously like, if you're working with somebody and you're mentoring them and you're giving them that like experience level and they can grow without making some of the mistakes and just like, expedite that process, then for sure it's worth both of your guys' interest to help each other out, right? Like just a no-brainer.
Exactly, exactly, and that's the thing. Like for me, I've always been open to sharing everything that I know and learn, and so now it's just that you're doing it more collaborative and team. I call it my family setting where we can help each other grow. So I yeah, definitely agree with you.
How many team members do you have now, Denise, like on your squad?
So officially, five. Well, I brought on 10, but
Yeah,
five of them are qualifying agents. So,
got it.
you can have ones that are qualifying, ones that are not qualifying. So, qualifying just means that they have done at least two deals.
Got it.
And but my total number of people that I have is about 109 now, people. So it's one of those big and when one of the biggest quotes EXP has, we're never going to be this small again. It's
Right.
just because people are always bringing on people, and it's like a big family tree that's going to be forever growing. So it's just one of those amazing companies that has so much opportunities just to continue growing.
So Denise, like, do they have to be within like the same area as you to work with you, or can they be like on the other side of Canada or like a different city? Does that matter? Or
That's a great question. No, they could be from all over. And so I have like team members in Kansas City, Florida, Calgary. And what's great about EXP is going worldwide. So it's hitting Australia, Europe, it's all over North America now. And so I could be bringing on a team from Australia, and it would just be that, again, collaborative nature. It's like, hey, we are here in Vancouver, even though we're not physically in the same country, but we're always on different Zoom calls and different mastermind talks that keep each other connected in one way or another still.
so if someone's watching, Denise, and they're just super inspired by your story and they want to get into real estate, like how would they be able to like, potentially work with you or, get on your squad?
Just reach out. I could put my Instagram contact, Facebook contact, email, phone number. Everything's always out in the open because I always tell people just feel free to reach out to me. I'm always open to chatting, to answering any questions. If you're thinking about, like, I have people reaching out to me all the time thinking about, hey, I'm thinking about getting real estate. Can you give me your honest opinion? And yeah, I'm more than happy to give a chat because I think for me, I was there at one point in my life too, where someone helped me out. And so now it's just like, I believe in karma. So I believe in helping and contributing in any way that I can. And, so don't be afraid. Just give me a call. I don't bite, I promise.
And I'll put some like link in the description below when they're watching it so that they can see it. And so I wanted to ask you, like, how is the state of real estate right now, kind of in Vancouver at this moment with all like the COVID stuff that happened in 2020? Like, where do you see us in the next like 6 months?
Yeah, we did have a slowdown due to the pandemic, as I'm sure the rest of the world has had as well. But we have seen like a pent up demand that has happened in in September is actually one of our busiest months that we've had. So this latter half of the year, it's been actually quite busy, especially with the low interest rates. And
Hmm.
Bank of Canada did say that they are going to keep interest rates low for the next couple of years. So I do see that there are going to be more local buyers or people who are just changing homes, downsizing or upsizing. And thing with real estate is it never stops because people still need a home, people still need to move, people's lives are still constantly changing. And so, if I had a crystal ball to say what's exactly going to happen, I would be paid millions and millions of dollars, I'm sure. But if I had to give a guesstimate, one thing I always say is Vancouver's completely landlocked. So we have such a unique geographical area that we're located in.
Hmm.
And because of that, we're always going to be limited in terms of the land that we have. And so I always say that I feel that real estate is always going to have a huge upside in Vancouver specifically, just because, we're getting less and less land. So I always recommend if you can afford it, get into a house because they're not making any more land or houses here. And I know developers are buying up a lot of houses, assembling them and making them into apartments. So I do believe land is king. So I do see the market prices go up, but how fast? That will be a big question mark.
And no one knows, but it's really interesting. Like if you look back in history, like, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and it's one thing that's constant, like the community is always growing. There's more people coming here. Like people are trying to migrate here from like all these different countries. Like for me, Canada's one of those like just really safe countries where there's not that much terrorism and no natural disasters, and it's just beautiful. It's just one of those things. And like
Yeah.
I don't think it might happen, but I don't think in my lifetime I'll see like a twister or something down here.
No, I agree with you. And I've done quite a bit of traveling in the last few years, and every time I'm like in a different part of the world, whether it be Europe, Australia, I tell people I'm from Vancouver. They're like, Vancouver's so beautiful, and everyone's so nice and friendly there. Everyone has always amazing things to say about Vancouver, and I always thought that I wanted to live somewhere else before, but I always miss home whenever I leave. So I think we are definitely very lucky and blessed to call Vancouver our home because, it's November right now and it's beautiful and sunny out. So who can say we have actually 4 seasons of the year too?
And that's a nice thing too, having like all the different seasons, and also having access to mountains, like lakes, rivers, the ocean. It's pretty interesting. Like because I always say that too, like, oh, maybe I'll go live in California one day, or New York, or live in like Hong Kong or something when I was younger. But then when
Yeah.
you travel and you see the quality of life and you come back here, the moment you get off the airplane, you're like, wow, this air is just like different. It's just crisp. You got that mountain air coming
Exactly.
in, right? So it's just like super unique.
I agree. I know what you mean, and I love Vancouver. It's we're both from here, so we are obviously a little biased, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you do miss when you leave, and yeah, I can't agree more with you for that too.
So Denise, like if someone wanted to get in real estate, what's the first step that they would take in terms of like, getting into the industry?
You know what? If you're thinking about it, I always suggest, talking to somebody already in real estate or shadowing some people so that you get a really good feel of it. And then if you like with Vancouver, you go through the UBC Sauder School of Business. But I don't know other parts of the world how it is. But yeah, you go through the UBC course. It's one of those courses that is kind of go at your own pace. So you can kind of, once you feel ready for the test, you can take the test whenever you want. Once you've done all your assignments and everything like that. So once you take the test, you pass. I think there's a 2 week kind of program that you do now. I don't know exactly what, because I know it's changed since 10
Hmm.
years ago. Uh, but once you get licensed, they pretty much throw you into the real estate world and say, start selling. So I always recommend, for me, I joined the team in the beginning just to get some experience, get some support. But I do recommend getting maybe even a coach right off the bat when you
Right.
start, or getting into a great brokerage that will have great support for you because it's real estate is one of those businesses that is such a high turnover and not everyone survives. So you want to make sure you are set up for success. And that's some of the recommendations I have is just make sure you have a great support network, great broker, great um, brokerage, as well as a coach or a mentor that is going to guide you in the right direction.
And I think like having a team and having support is huge, because I think a lot of people that potentially just quit is because they just don't know what to do, or inaction, and it just fizzles out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so like when you got started, like was your team that you got on, did they have a lot of focus on mentoring and like making sure that you really get like the hang of things right away, or did you have to do that yourself?
The team that I was on a team for 3 years, and my team leader was great. He really focused on online marketing, so he did a lot of online lead gen. So we got a lot of leads. In terms of like the training and stuff, I definitely had some training with my managing broker at the time, but I learned a lot by just being out in the work in the field. And I think that's the best way you can learn because we can all study a book. We can all kind of go online and watch YouTube on videos on how to sell. But to get like actual like marketplace, like field experience is how you're going to learn the best for me personally. Because any agents that I bring on, I always say, you know what, the best way I can teach you to swim if I'm going to throw you in the ocean, and I'll be watching you. I'm going to make sure I'm going to save you if anything happens. But if you're going to want to learn how to swim, go out there and swim, right?
It's so true because like you don't know what type of pressure you're gonna be under until you're there, and no one can explain it to
Exactly.
you, regardless of whatever position you have in any industry, until you like are put in that position and you're supposed to go out there and like produce, and
Yes.
then you'll know.
Exactly. And the thing is, what I love personally about real estate is that every situation, every client, every property is different. So there's going to be always something that is not going to be the same, but there are obviously are going to be similarities, but every situation is different. So the best way to learn is just to get out there and shadow someone and just do it. And you're going to pick things up as you go. And yeah, I think that's really the best way. And that's how I learned. Not everyone's learning technique is different, but I'm very, very like kinesthetic learner. So I like
Right.
to be a part of, do like with my hands and just be in there, but like all in.
And I think for your situation, I think the biggest thing too that I see from you is consistency. You've been in the game, right, or the industry for over 10 years now. And a lot of people that when they potentially look at your Instagram, they might just be like, oh, like, she's just super successful already. And, they might not have any idea of your personal story and your journey to get there. Because,
Yes,
when you're successful, then it's easier for everyone to just say, oh, she's already successful, right? But, you weren't always there. You have to, obviously come up there and get to that point.
yes. 100, yes. And that's a good point, right? And sometimes, to be honest, I actually forget that people look at me as successful, because to me, I'm just like Denise doing my real, my career, my passion that I love doing. So I really forget sometimes that people look at me and they're like, wow, you're doing so well. I'm like, yeah, that's just what I am. But what I do remember when I first got started, like I was living, breathing, eating real estate all day. Like I remember taking out clients every weekend to go to White Rock. I would drive. I would go above and beyond what I needed to do. Like my hustle and grind was so strong before, because like I had this yearning of wanting to succeed. And my one big reason why is just for me was my parents. And so
Uh-huh.
I think if anybody has a big enough why out there, whether it be in real estate or anything, it's gonna push you and give you that motivation you need to give you that extra energy to do what you need to do, and when others won't do what you'd want to do. So looking back now, I'm like, I feel really grateful that I'm in a position where I am now. But like I'm just looking back at how hard I used to hustle and work. I'm like, it's, but everyone has to start somewhere, and I think
Right.
that's what everyone has to do in the beginning with any career.
I think one misconception that people they think about like entrepreneurs and anyone that's working for themselves is that they just have this magical perfect schedule that they do whatever they want all the time, and everything is just like their schedule. And sometimes that's not the case. You gotta go where the action is. You gotta make time to go see a client like late, or something just comes up and you have to like cancel your plans that you had
Yes,
because this opportunity comes. But a lot of people don't
yes.
think about that side of being an entrepreneur and working for yourself. Is like, hey, yeah, you do get to like choose when and what time you get up and things like that, but you choose most of the time to work more than the average person that's working like a 9 to 5.
Exactly. And I think the difference is that when you're passionate about it and you actually enjoy what you're doing, you don't see it as work. So you end up putting in sometimes longer hours, if not more work and more time into it, because like for me, like I get to meet like great clients, and I got this opportunity to work with you and your brother. It's just like, for me, it's like I get to meet so many great people. And so for me, I don't see it as work. I'm just like, I'm here to help and support you in any way that I can. And so sometimes I get a call at like midnight or something, and it's just something urgent, and I'm more than happy to pick up, because if I can help relieve some stress from my client, that's good. Otherwise they're going to be stressed and feeling anxiety, and that's something that I don't want anyone to ever have in their life. So So yeah, so it's real estate doesn't stop, which I'm sure like entrepreneurship doesn't stop. It's the same, just different product, I guess.
Yeah, and that's so true because I remember messaging you like maybe like 8 o'clock sometimes or like super early sometimes, and you always get back to me, and it's just like, I appreciate it because there's always so many things moving when you're closing on a deal or things are coming to like the end of it or to that finish point. So it's been pretty cool to just be able to work with friends as well, like growing up and seeing each other grow and also being able to do business together. That's really cool and exciting as well. It just means, I guess, we're all growing together, which is really cool.
Exactly. And I think that's the exciting part. I love seeing you grow, like just grow, helping my friends just grow their portfolios too. It's just, for me, it's like I have this analogy where it's like, it's great to be on top of the mountain, but if you're on top of the mountain by yourself, it's no fun. So I always want to ensure that my friends are coming up with me along the ride to the top of the mountain. And some of us are taking a longer path, a different trail,
Yeah,
but hopefully we're all coming up to the same top of the mountain, and at the end of the day, with this, and enjoying the view together.
for sure. And I've like I like this saying that like that I've come across. It's better late than never. So
Yeah.
regardless of whatever position where you are, getting there, at some point, it's better than not getting there at all.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially with real estate. Everyone's like, oh, I wish I bought like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And like you just said, it's better late than never. At least, you're getting in the foot door, into the door now than not getting in and not taking action. So I completely agree. Yeah.
All right, Denise. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great conversation. And so if people want to follow you, like I'll make sure that the link is in the description below when they're watching this. And yeah, it's just been a great time and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. You're out there hustling and bustling still in November. So
Thank you, Dad. Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to not only see you, but talk to you. And, let's definitely get together soon. I would love to connect again more with you.
all right, I'll see you later. Thanks again, Denise.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay, see you later.
Bye bye.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Great conversation with Denise Mai. If you guys are interested in connecting with her and just maybe having some questions about maybe getting into real estate in terms of buying or selling, or potentially wanting to become a realtor, all the her information will be in the description below. And yeah, make sure you guys again join the Facebook group. We're getting a lot more cool videos on there, a lot more participation, and just getting a whole community really being built around personal growth and just connecting and building each other up. So link again in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time.